Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? Project Zomboid has built up a reputation for being one of the more difficult zombie survival games on Steam. As someone who spent countless hours playing it with a mouse and keyboard, I never paid much attention to controller support. That is, until the Steam Deck released. The game runs surprisingly well on it, and given the fact that it's a verified Steam Deck compatible game, I have no doubt that hundreds, if not thousands of players have picked up the game in hopes of playing it on the go. With that being said, I figured it'd be a good challenge to survive an entire week in Project Zomboid, surviving solely on the Steam Deck, but with a twist. The footage you're about to see is my first official playthrough on the Steam Deck. That's right, that means I have no familiarity with the button layout or how to access specific menus, camera angles, all that stuff was completely foreign to me. Something that can be done on a keyboard with ease, like accessing the crafting menu or your inventory, is now accessible via the D-pad or your bumper buttons, which took a lot of getting used to early on. To keep things beginner friendly, I'm going with a pretty basic build. I went with the lumberjack occupation for the axeman trait, along with dexterous, outdoorsman, gymnast, fast learner, organized, and athletic for positives. For negatives, I grabbed slow reader, weak stomach, smoker, prone to illness, underweight, slow healer, and high thirst. I chose Rosewood as my spawn location because it's my favorite starting location. If you don't know, it comes with a pretty light zombie population, but has plenty of target locations like a grocery store, a police station, mechanic shop, and a ton of other things. I also feel like Rosewood is generally one of the more popular spawn locations in the game, so that's what we're rolling with. Day 1 was primarily spent getting used to the new controls. I've only ever played PZ on a mouse and keyboard, so to take 75% of the game's functionality and change it to a D-pad with radial menus made it much more interesting. After looting the first home, I headed out to begin making my way to the fire station. My plan is really simple here. Get to the fire station, clear the zombies, loot the neighborhood for general supplies, and then gear up. Fire station will generally have more zombies in the area since it's near the police station and in an open area, so zombies will be able to path to you from a greater distance. When it comes to actually looting the fire station, you want to focus on the back left closet in the garage. The storage room is where you're going to find the highest spawn chance for fire axes, so check here first and check fast. Only grab axes to start. You're going to end up basing here so you can always come back and grab extra loot later. For now, your entire focus should be on items that you can get immediate use out of. It's something you're going to hear me repeat a lot in these first few days. Only take what you need for weapons. There's no reason to go overboard when you don't have supplies to begin with. Something is always better than nothing. Anyway, getting back into things, if you find yourself face to face with around a dozen zombies or so, don't waste your time fighting them right now. Instead, loop the groups of zombies around and jump this side fence. This will mess with the zombie pathing, and they'll lose track of you while trying to figure out another way around to you. You can use this time to jump the fence again, bringing you back into the range of the fire station, where you can start clearing out the stragglers. I got very unlucky here, and zombies managed to break down one of the garage doors. This isn't the end of the world by any means, but it'll make basing here more dangerous in the short term. Another gem with this location is that you can get lucky and get some zombified firefighters, which can spawn with firefighter pants and jackets. These provide really good armor early on in the game, though the downside with them is that you'll run slower and become hot faster. If for some reason you're continuing to pull larger groups of zombies around the fire station, just continue the original method of leading them through the fencing to the left-hand side and jumping over. If you're not super confident with the control system or just zombie pathing in general, don't try to be a hero and bunch them together. Just continue to pull them and take corners to keep them clustered together, and then be sure to give yourself enough space before hopping the fence, just in case you fail the first time. Jumping back to the control scheme, the TV gave me major problems at first. You can access the device options with the controls by pressing X, but I couldn't figure out a way to change the volume of the TV or change the channel without using the Steam Deck's touchscreen, which makes it incredibly difficult. At this point, we just want to watch Life and Living, which will come at 1800 or 6 p.m., and while we're doing that, we can read any skill books or magazines that we've accumulated through the day. After waking up the next morning, we're going to watch Life and Living again at 6 a.m. If you're unfamiliar with Life and Living, it airs at 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. every day for the first week. Once that's finished up, we'll head outside and take note of our surroundings. Clear out any nearby zombies before heading north to the fencing. The goal for today is to find a generator and get some looting runs in. I've had the best luck finding generators when checking the second garage here. I'm not sure if there's a 100% certain chance that generators will spawn here, but I have found one in almost every playthrough for the past year or so it's definitely worth checking out. In this case, I managed to find one and managed to get it out without dying. At this point, you want to follow the fence line to the east. You can either be risky and go through the tree line, or just work your way down onto the main road here, which is probably safer. That being said, you're likely going to pull zombies regardless, so you'll want to get the Jenny back to base ASAP. Once you drop it off, you can either be a Chad and fight the zombies, or you can repeat the same steps as yesterday and loop them around to the fencing. At this point, we're getting close to the next Life and Living episode, so I'm going to head upstairs and keep reading the carpentry skill book until after the show wraps up. Now that Life and Living is done, we can head back out and do some looting. For this first initial looting run, I want to focus on food and general supplies. We can always get the cool clothes and funny items later. For now, we want to focus on canned food and high-calorie foods like ice cream and butter. One thing I kept messing up here was the ability to open a window versus just smashing it. I don't know why, but for some reason I just kept thinking that it was B to open the window and A to smash, but it's actually flipped, where B smashes the window. Because of this literal skill issue, I ended up smashing more windows than I opened, which ended up attracting more zombies to my area. Normally I'd fight them here, but at this point I'm starting to get tired, and the third Life and Living episode will be on soon, so I just want to get back to base and settle down for the night. For your first week, the mornings are generally going to be the same. You'll wake up, smoke a cigarette, read your skill books, and watch Life and Living. The goal for today is to get to the Rosewood School. It's got a massive library in it that we can use to hopefully find a generator knowledge magazine. That's really all we need from here, but it's also worth searching for some Volume 1 skill books and recipe magazines. There is a bookstore on Main Street, but there's no back door, so once you get in, the only way out is the front, where a couple dozen zombies will be waiting for you. The school, however, is a little more discreet, and has multiple classrooms we can loot, along with lockers for extra gear and backpacks. Well, we didn't manage to find a Jenny mag, but we are going to walk away with about a dozen magazines and Volume 1 skill books. I took some time to check out the medical room, as well as a few of the classrooms and lockers. Typically, you'll be able to find some magazines in the desks and lockers, with a chance to find some chips and chocolate as well. Since this was the only thing I wanted to accomplish today, I'll typically dedicate the rest of my time to looting runs, hitting up any houses along the way, and heading back to the fire station to drop off my gear once my backpack is full. Similar to yesterday, we'll spend the rest of today reading recipe magazines and skill books. Congrats, at this point you've survived more than 3 days. The big goal for now is to find a working vehicle. There's a couple larger parking lots that we can check out, but the safest place is actually going to be the neighborhood to the north. This is due to the amount of houses and fences that we can use to lose zombies with, whereas in a parking lot, any zombie that notices us will just follow us back to base. We can either focus on hot wiring, or we can look for keys for cars. Obviously, finding a key is way less time consuming than trying to grind out skills to hotwire, so that'll be the main focus. While searching for keys, we'll also want to check out the houses to loot any food that's worth keeping. Make sure to check the downstairs closets as well, since you'll find some useful tools or even get things like duffel bags like you see here, though you might also get ambushed by 2 zombies who like to sit in there and wait for you. After almost dying to that ambush, I figured it was time to dip out and focus on the northwestern strip of the neighborhood. Another reason you want to be checking houses is because you can find things like butter. If you're following along and went with the same build as me, underweight will give you a 20% melee damage reduction. You can lose that by getting your weight to above 75. Currently, we're sitting at a whopping 70 and trending downward. Well, butter gives us enough calories to turn that deficit around almost instantly. Here we were lucky enough to find a key to the step van on the ground, with the van having a working engine and enough fuel in it to start up. Normally on PC, I'd be confident enough to just hop in the van and start it up, since I can just switch seats to get out of trouble. It's a little more difficult on the Steam Deck, so if you're someone who likes to do that, maybe just clear out the zombies in the area before hopping into the car. Especially since you can't turn the car off just by clicking the key. It's got to be done through a radial menu or by using the touchscreen. This right here is exactly why we want the firefighter gear. In a game where one stupid decision can cost you everything, it's important to wear proper protection. Take notes, gentlemen. It may have taken 4 days, but I finally realized that you can use the right bumper to control the TV menu, making it exponentially easier than relying on the touchscreen. Now that we have the trunk for extra storage, I want to spend the rest of the day looting some of the garages and houses. Garages will hold a variety of potential tools and useful items. What we're really hoping for is things like welder's masks, blowtorches, hammers, nails, and other items like that. Each garage also has a chance to spawn generators, so you may also find yourself with multiple Jennies for your base by the end of the day. It's worth noting that you'll only need one generator for this safe house, but generators are a rare commodity, so it's always nice to keep a backup on you. Worst case scenario, you can place the second one at a gas station once the power goes out, so you have a way to power the fuel pumps, provided you live that long. There's a few houses that had cars on the east side of the neighborhood, so I checked those out as well, but neither car had keys to it. That being said, I was able to find a jack and a lug wrench on the ground near a broken down car, so that'll come in handy later. One thing that I'm enjoying more on the Steam Deck than on PC though is driving. The controls feel incredibly smooth, and it's overall much easier to drive with an analog stick instead of WASD. Now that we have a working vehicle, I want to hit up the gas station and the mechanic shop at the outskirts of Rosewood. Here we can refuel the van, fill up our gas tanks to fuel our generator, and drop off our spare generator here for future use. We'll loot the mechanic shop for spare parts and tools needed to level our mechanic skill. If there is time left over after all of that, then we'll try to hit the bookstore to find a generator mag. At this point, we have more than enough canned goods and frozen foods, so we can afford to focus on other items right now. The first thing you want to do after you reach the gas station is simple: clear any zombies in the area. The last thing you want is for a zombie to sneak up on you while you're busy refueling your car. Once that's taken care of, you can fill up your extra cans and drop the spare generator if you've got one. From there, we can go ahead and loot the gas station. I'll typically focus on chips and water bottles, along with any maps I can grab, since they'll help us reveal the grand map. There's a back room you can loot, but in this gas station particularly, there is an upstairs apartment that you should also check out. I'll typically find items in the closet, such as backpacks. In this case, I find a hiking bag, or guns. It's not overly uncommon to find firearms up here. I often find M77s or shotguns, so always check this place out. A quick tip for Steam Deck players, and maybe I'm utilizing this wrong, but I found that the best way to bulk transfer items between bags is to just transfer everything onto the floor, and then using the loot all button to mass loot everything into your backpack. This kind of resolves that issue of being able to click and select multiple items on mouse and keyboard that you can't do on Steam Deck. Moving on to the mechanic shop, we're really focused on any auto shop magazines we can find, since those allow us to work on different types of cars. Luckily, we were able to find most of them in the houses and the school. We also have all the tools we'll need since we found the jack and lug wrench lying on the side of the road yesterday. For mechanics, you're going to want a wrench, jack, lug wrench, and screwdriver. The tire pump is optional, but still nice to have. All of those items have a high chance to spawn at this shop, so it's 100% worth your time if you want working vehicles. There's also a chance for propane torches and welder's masks to spawn here, which we managed to find in the locker room. At this point, there's still a considerable amount of time left in the day, so I wanted to take a chance on the bookstore. This is easily the most dangerous part of the playthrough so far, and it's going to rely heavily on combat, so make sure your axe has a high condition since you don't want it breaking on you. If you're starting to get tired like me at this point, you can also just start popping vitamins, but here is where you want to use your beta blockers if you've got them. Because we've only been using an axe as our primary weapon, I've been able to get it to level 4, meaning we can one-shot zombies if we crit them as long as we don't have panic. As soon as we get our weight above 75, we'll be able to one or two-shot practically every zombie we come across. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find a Jenny Mag, but we did come away with even more skill books that we probably won't use. With the two highest spawn chances out of the way, our best bet now is to either go house to house in Rosewood and hope we get lucky, or head to another town that has a library or a school. Since we're focused on surviving our first week, I'm going to keep this specific to Rosewood, so we'll spend more time searching tomorrow. As I just mentioned, today's entire goal is to go door to door in hopes of finding the generator magazine. I chose the houses to the northeast of the school since we haven't hit any of these yet, and I figured it'd be a good time to show off the area. And as luck would have it, I ended up finding a generator magazine in the first house I walked into. So we have a problem now. I expected to spend most of the day doing this, and finding one in the first house doesn't help any of you since it's all up to chance. Because of this, I'm going to continue looting the houses so that 1, you can play alongside of me and get a feel for the game some more, and 2, so that you can see the interiors of some of these houses and can see the layout before entering them. This way you'll know exactly where to go check for books and magazines. At around 9 AM, I walked into another home to find a corpse either under the house, under the bathtub, or pressed against the wall that I couldn't see. It also had loot on it that was bugged since it spawned a shotgun and 2 rifles. I grabbed the shotty and one of the rifles for safekeeping, though this doesn't really change anything from a gameplay perspective. Being completely honest, combat on the Steam Deck is really growing on me. Everything feels very smooth and fluid. There's also no real stuttering when fighting smaller groups, and the analog movement for aim walking also feels better than using a mouse and keyboard in my opinion. Now I may just be biased since I grew up with consoles and only switched to PC gaming 7 or 8 years ago, but the combat as a whole is much better than I thought it was going to be with controller support. We've accomplished our goal for the day, fought a ton of zombies, and looted a considerable amount of supplies. Let's head back to base, start organizing our gear, and read up on some recipe magazines and skill books. We've finally arrived at the 1 week mark. Super exciting stuff. Statistically, this is about as far as the average player survives, which is pretty crazy to think. I figured today we'll hit up the police station and grab some firearms, since most of you are overly excited to use them. If we're lucky, this should line up with a heli event, so using a shotgun won't completely screw us. I showed this off in a previous video, but we're gonna head up to the prison before we start blasting. This way, we'll be able to get out of the zombie tracking range when we leave, and won't end up bringing half the city of Rosewood to our front door while we're sleeping. If you're hoping for a key, it's worth killing the zombies out front and checking for their corpses, but if you went with a lumberjack occupation or are just using axes, you can simply bash the security doors down with a couple swings. With the armory unlocked, we're looking for immediate use items such as ammo and high condition guns. Since we found weapons on a bugged zombie, I'm going to use the shotgun we found in the armory along with all the shotgun shells here. After looting the police station armory, I dropped everything I didn't need back off at the base in the garage before hopping in the van and setting off for the prison. The first thing I did was drive around for a bit to cluster up the zombies in the parking lot. From there, I parked my car on the far side of the lot so the zombies wouldn't bunch up on it and it'd be easier to escape with later. What you want to do is start shooting in this little courtyard area. This will pull zombies from inside the prison and will make looting the armory much easier. The parking lot is also big enough that you can continue to loop zombies around and kite them into a nice ball for you to fire into. After running out of shells, I tried to pull as many zombies away from the armory as possible before circling back. I did bring an axe in case I needed to break down the doors, but it looks like the zombies beat me to it. This is a high loot location, meaning you have a greater chance to find things like AK-47s here, along with a variety of ammo. The big thing to pound into your skull here is to not overstay your welcome like you're watching me do right now. Grab a few boxes of ammo for guns that you already have and get out. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a situation where zombies are starting to flood into the room through the only way in or out. If you know how to shove rush, you can animation glitch your way past most of the zombies and then just pray you don't fall after. When you're done looting though, you want to follow the path I'm taking to the rooftop. Going back down the stairs will 100% get you killed since the zombies will be pooling at the bottom of the building. If you go out through the roof, however, you can jump from the second floor without breaking any limbs, and most of the zombies will get stuck inside the building with your last known location, the armory. This will allow you to jog back to your car, which is parked safely away from the chaos, and head back to base with your new loot. At this point, the Steam Deck fan was working overtime, so I'm not sure if we triggered the heli event. I'm sure you'll be able to hear it in the recording though if it did. And with that, I'm going to spend the rest of day 7 organizing the base and reading some skill books, after celebrating with a drink of course. With day 7 coming to a close, we are in a prime position to begin expanding. We have enough food to last for months, a freezer we stole from the gas station for any crops or perishable items we want to keep, a ton of fuel, 2 generators, a working car, some axes at our disposal, a few firearms and ammo to go with them. I like to think we did pretty well on our skills as well. Especially considering the fact that I wasn't trying to min-max anything and was just playing the way I think a normal player would. On top of all of that, we managed to rack up 293 kills, with 232 of them coming from axes. From a combat perspective, the game feels fantastic. Even during the shootout at the prison, there were only a few times I felt the game really lag, and that was primarily due to the constraints of the Steam Deck. It took me around 3 or 4 days to really get used to the controls, and given this is my first experience with PZ on the Steam Deck, I'd say that's pretty good. Full disclosure, I do have a ton of hours in this game, so I didn't have to go through the hurdles of being a new player and not knowing where to go or what to do. So if that is you, I hope this video helped in some way. If not, well, hopefully you found it entertaining enough to stick around for a bit, even with the drop in quality compared to a 1080 video. A very special thank you to my YouTube members and Patreon supporters, who were a big reason that I even picked up a Steam Deck, let alone made a video with one. I appreciate you all. And as always, thanks for stopping by.